Let's give a nice warm welcome to Dr. Karthik Ramanan.
So thank you for coming today. Just a couple things right off the bat. Since we have a small, intimate group, I figured I have some things that I want to share, but I would really like to have this be a little bit more of a conversation rather than me just lecturing in front of the room, because you got enough of that in your life. And the other thing is you notice I don't have a PowerPoint because, again, you have enough of that in your life. So I'd encourage you to just silence your distractions, take some good notes, and I promise to deliver the value to you today. Does that sound good? Mm-hmm. All right. So like I said, I got some notes here on things that, business and mindset strategies to end self-criticism and ensure your success after medical school. But first, I want to get a better understanding of where you're at in your journey. How many of you are pre-NPLEX 1? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 of you. So you guys are post-NPLEX 1. How far are you from graduating? This June? Next year. We got a good variety here. So as far as graduating medical school, what are your fears? What are you worried about coming out? Getting a job.
Getting experience and a job.
Experience and a job.
Paying off our debt.
I'm sorry?
Paying off our debt.
Paying off the debt. That's a big one, yes.
Not marketing well enough to employ me.
Right, not marketing well enough. Those are really legitimate concerns that I don't think a lot of people actually think about when they're in your shoes. So I commend you for thinking about them now so that once you graduate, you'll be in good shape. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody who's about to graduate in June and 2 weeks before they're still not sure where they want to go, what they want to do. They got some options, but they're not really set in their decision. And that's okay, but at the same time, you'll be much more equipped for success if you have more of a clear vision. So the first question that you should be asking yourself, and the most important thing, whether you're going to residency, whether you're opening your own practice, is, or even if you want to do some other things, like building an online following so you can make an online course, something like that, is how are you going to find your ideal audience or your patients? Where are you going to find them? And that goes back to the marketing, obviously, but you would be surprised how not obvious that is, because a lot of folks think that they can graduate, get a loan, open up shop, and put up a sign and people will show up, and it just doesn't work that way. There are certain things that you need to do in order to make people aware of you, and in order for people to be aware of you, they have to understand what you're about. For them to understand what you're about, you have to know what you're about. So I'd like to know, for any of you, is there any specific things that you know that you're passionate about within naturopathic medicine? Like one single focus that you really want to help people with? Obviously you can help people with other things, but what's that thing that you're hoping to be known for so that people will come to you for that one thing?
Infertility and, I don't know if that's the right word, but pregnancy optimization, because the shop with kids health coming out.
Excellent, excellent. That is a major field and something that obviously the rates of infertility are going up, and the things that people can do to ensure their success in having children. That's a great idea, great one. Any other ideas?
Cardiovascular disease specialist.
Cardiovascular disease specialist, excellent. What if anybody not know they want to be known for? Nice, that's okay too, but you're thinking about it. So I'll give you my story. So I had a lot of things that I figured I could be known for. I had a 100-pound weight loss journey and a passion for plant-based nutrition. I had obviously psychological transformation as well, just the understanding of the power of EMDR, the power of visualization, and things that you can do to get out of your own way. But also the things that we learn in naturopathic school that are not necessarily talked about as much outside. the importance of sleep hygiene and all those basic things, right? And I didn't know which one I wanted to really go after. So I just, I started my Instagram and YouTube presence and just started talking about things that matter to people. And I was connecting with them, but it was really hard to break through to say, I'm known for this. And I was at this marketing conference, and the speaker said, there's this concept of what's called Sheehan's wall. And on the left side of the wall, you're in obscurity. This is all of us, right? Most people don't know who we are. On the other side of the wall, you're well known. If you're well known, let's say Oprah or Tony Robbins or whoever else, you can talk about anything you want and people will listen, right? So we're here on that side going, okay, well, we can talk about homeopathy and botanical medicine, we can talk about thyroid diseases, all these things. And then people get very confused. If somebody doesn't know you online especially, they will give you 5 seconds in your video to decide whether they want to continue watching. At most, 3 to 5 seconds really. So in that 3 to 5 seconds, you have to hook them enough to get to the point where you can explain succinctly what you're about. And the speaker went on to say, if the only way to break through the Sheehan's wall to go from obscurity to being well known is to be known for one thing. Which is why I asked you the question, what do you want to be known for? And he said, you have to be able to say what you want to be known for, who you help, in one sentence. And I just felt like I got punched in the gut. I have all these things that I'm interested in, and how am I going to put that in one sentence? And then he goes on to say, actually, if you think about, who knows Brene Brown? Right? In one word, what would you say that she's about? Sorry? Courage, right? That's a good one. Or how about Dave Ramsey? Anyone familiar with Dave Ramsey?
Yep.
Right? So what's he known for? One word. Finance, debt, right? Like these people are known for one word, and this guy at this conference says, you need to be known for one word. Now you have that figured out, infertility. Excellent, right? But for the rest of us, it doesn't necessarily have to be a disease. It could be a type of person. It could be demographic. It could be a psychographic. But we want to start thinking about what it is that we want to be known for. And I was thinking, okay, well, when you're talking about mental health and talking about relationships and nutrition and fasting and sleep, exercise, like how could I be known for one thing? And then it hit me. It was the element in my life that brought all those things together. A deeply self-critical voice that was in my head for most of my life. The one that told me I wasn't good enough, I wasn't capable, that I wasn't worthy. And having to figure that journey, figure out how to get over that and move past that and help other people with that is what I wanted to be known for. And you heard Joanna say earlier that I help ambitious individuals and self-criticism. That's my sentence, and my one word is self-criticism. So that's what you want to start to think about as you go forward. And obviously things can change. You don't have to plant your flag and stick with it. But it's just something to think about so that you're not just all over the map once you get out. Because once you get out, you want to be pretty consistent with your messaging. Does that make sense so far? Do you have any questions about that? Okay. So that helps you find who your ideal audience or patient is to have that consistent messaging. But also just understanding that it's going to take work in the beginning to help you find who that's going to be. So are you going to be a content creator online and start building an audience with free content and then funnel people to your email list and then you can sell to them on your email list? That's one way. You can do live talks locally. I actually have a friend who moved out to Eastmark, East Mesa, and had no patient contacts out there whatsoever. But she took the leap of faith. She was working up in Scottsdale at another clinic. She wanted to go out on her own when she moved out there. And what she did was she went onto the local neighborhood Facebook groups and just introduced herself, started talking to the people there. A couple people said, oh, Dr. Ellis, I'd love to come see you. So they did that. One person saw her, this very early stage of her practice, and wrote this beautiful review commending her on a Facebook group. And that is triggering other people to come and become interested in her. There's many ways to go about it, but it's just one of those things that you can't expect people are just gonna know you and walk in the door right away. It's gonna take a lot of work up front. But after a while, you can really lean on some of your raving fan patients to send other people to you. But you have to have a plan for what you're gonna do when you come out of school. And the good news is, if you're talking about building an audience online, you can actually do that now. You can start telling people that, hey, I'm gonna be a doctor in such and such a time, and just start listening to people, see what their concerns are, and obviously you can't give them medical advice yet, but you can still build relationships. Now, one thing that goes along with that is that claiming your specialty is believing you can. So how many of you feel like you know enough to go out there and be a practicing physician? Or at least you're at the rate that by the time I graduate, I should know enough. Does anybody feel confident? Nobody, and that's okay, because none of us do. But the cool thing is that what I realized once I got out was, you're in here with so many brilliant doctors teaching you and colleagues, and a lot of things that we just take for granted, like the importance of getting 8 hours of sleep, or not having light in your room at night, or just the importance of eating fiber, are things that most people don't know. So when you go out there to the real world and you start talking to people, you'd be really surprised that what you already know is far, far more and more valuable to other people than you would have ever guessed. And if you can really just step into that and say, okay, if I don't know the answer, I can still find out the answer, but what I know already is more than enough to change this person's life. What you know already is more than enough to change somebody's life. And really all you need to do as you go forward is to start to understand, okay, what are the signs for something that is severe that I will need to, seek help for, or refer out, or whatever the case may be. But the baseline of what you already have is a tremendous amount. Does that make you feel any better? It really does. No? You're like, maybe.
It is.
It is. It definitely is. Another mistake that I see most people making, and I almost fell into that trap myself, is charging what you're worth. So does anybody have an idea of what you think a good price, let's say, for a cash pay introductory first visit should be? Let's just say it's just the office visit. What feels good to you?
Like a 2-hour invitation?
Yeah, like a 2-hour new patient, hour and a half, 2 hour. 400, 450. Okay,
I
what
was
do you
gonna say
think?
250.
250. Okay. Any other ones? So there's no actual, sorry.
600.
600. There's really not a right answer here, but you're definitely trending in the correct direction. Because here's the thing, we want to help people, and obviously, if somebody's coming in without insurance, or we don't take insurance, that can be challenging for some people to pay. But at the same time, what is the value of having your health back? What's the value of being out of pain? What's the value of having energy and the fatigue going away, right? But more importantly than that, one of my mentors taught me this one mental hack to help you think about how to price certain things is, what did it cost you to become an expert in this area? What did it cost you? And then obviously there's a monetary element when we're talking about our student loans and that sort of thing. But what did it cost you in terms of time? Is it 4 years of your prime in your 20s, right? All the hours. Health for some of us, right? What did it cost you to become this good at what you do? And if you understand that, now you can start to set a baseline for what time with you costs. But the other thing to also remember is, how many of you have bought like concert tickets recently? Like Ticketmaster or something, right? So when you go pick a seat, you're like, oh, $80, okay, cool. And then somehow, when you check out, it's like 200. And why is that? Right? There's this fee, there's that fee, that concession charge, the parking, and all of a sudden it's expensive, right? We hate getting nickel and dime. We hate those add-on prices, especially when we feel like we've been attracted in by a low price and then it balloons up. So one strategy that works really well is to bundle the things that you are offering in that initial visit and charge one number rather than breaking it out into multiple things. Because when you break it out into multiple things, the human mind thinks I gotta make a decision on 3 or 4 different elements, whereas if you just say, okay, here's the initial visit with me, which includes the 2-hour initial intake where we'll go through your entire medical history, I'll go over all your past labs, we'll sit down and have a detailed conversation, we'll run these comprehensive tests that are included, develop relationships with the lab so that you can include those in. And this also includes the follow-up visit where we'll go over those labs and we'll come up with a customized treatment plan. And now all of a sudden they're saying, okay, I'm used to a doctor visit that's maybe 5 minutes and they don't even look at me. Now all of a sudden this person, okay, yeah, maybe it's $800, but all these labs are included and I get so much more value. I feel like I'm going to actually get better. Does that make sense? If you can bundle more of what you want to offer them, it makes it an easier decision for them. It's just one purchase decision. It's not several. Does that make sense? And there's also other ways that you can serve people that might be, in a lower income situation through membership models and that sort of thing. So there are other ways around it, but the main thing is to charge your worth. And what goes along with charging your worth is, chances are if you're coming out, you're probably gonna go work at another clinic first rather than opening up your own practice right away to get experience, to see how it is at a successful practice, how they run it, that sort of thing. Don't sign a bad contract. Please don't sign a bad contract. And what defines a bad contract is gonna vary from contract to contract, but as my wife back there and I found out that even sometimes contracts that look okay on the surface, over time don't always turn out to be that way. Now, that said, first year out, don't expect that you're gonna make 70 grand or something like that. It's unrealistic working at somebody else's clinic. If you're working at your own, you can attract that kind of clientele. That's a different story, but to work at somebody else's clinic, unless you're bringing in a large group of people and you're providing value, you probably won't get that fee split. But at the same time, I've had colleagues that at the end of the year walked away with $20,000. It's like, that's not a good contract. That's not the way it should be. So if you have a question about a contract when you get to that stage, talk to your mentors. You're gonna have doctors in the field that you lean on for medical related things. You can lean on them for business related things too. Just say, hey, I'm being offered this, what do you think? Is this fair? Is this something you would take at my stage? And they'll be more than willing to help you out. How are we doing so far? Valuable? Any questions? What do you want to know?
When it comes to the whole charging what you're worth thing,
Yeah.
I like the way that you, that kind of mind hack you gave us, but kind of the way I always think about it is like, how much money are you actually saving them in the long run from, emergency room visits or, surgeries or like whatever's going to be the end result of the path that they're walking down?
Yeah, it's true. And, the reality is none of us like to pay for prevention.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. When you go in to get your oil changed, You see where I'm going with this one? You go in to get your oil changed, they give you this whole list of things like, okay, well, you need tire rotation, and these valves are leaking, but it's like $1,000 bill of things that they want you to do. And on one hand, you're like, okay, they're trying to screw me. I don't want to pay all this. I just want my oil changed. But on the other hand, some of them can legitimately be very expensive repairs down the road, and none of us want to pay for maintenance, or rather for prevention. But yes, it's true. Like the amount of, from a monetary standpoint, yes, but also it's just, how much more productive could you be at your job? If you had more energy, could you produce more? Could you get a raise? There's so many other ways to look at it that are just beyond, and you can't put a price on how healthy feels. And that's just something to remember. The other thing that I want to emphasize, another business-related thing, collaboration is way better than competition. So I will say this, I don't think our field is very good at collaborating. I think there's a lot of people have this poverty mindset that if I get a patient, then Dr. Sam doesn't get a patient. Or if she takes my patient, then I don't have that patient. And it's just not a very good way of looking at it. How many of you were here for Dr. Jamil's talk last week? So he and I had this conversation, and we were talking about doing a live event together, and some people would look at some of the things that we do and say, oh, it's very kind of similar to psychology-related things. But the reality is we both felt this way. It's like, if somebody is not going to work with me, well, I hope they work with you. If somebody's not going to work with you, well, they might work with me. You never can, even though people assume a lot of the time that there's this limited pool of people that would want to see a naturopathic physician, there's not. It's a huge field. And the moment that you start to talk to people who may have never seen a naturopathic physician, and you start to understand what their pain points are. Like, I've been going specialist to specialist. I had this thyroid specialist and this kidney specialist, and nobody was talking to each other. And they get frustrated. They want somebody who's going to look at them as a whole person. And the moment you explain it to them like that, they get excited. And there's so many people out there that have never seen one. And even maybe they have seen one, but they haven't seen you. You gotta understand one thing, that like, people don't buy your products or services, they don't buy your expertise. Like, we think that, well, maybe I can go out and learn the latest, PRP procedure or whatnot, and that is going to, if I'm on the cutting edge, then I can offer the cutting edge treatment, and therefore I'll be better off getting more patients. Sure, it'll benefit you in terms of actually serving those patients, but the reality is that most people aren't coming for that cutting edge treatment. They're not coming for your 20 years of expertise or 2 months, whatever it might be, right? That's not what they're buying. You want to know what they're buying? Anyone want to guess? What is a patient actually buying?
Your mind?
Sorry?
Your mind?
Your mind. Okay. Any other ones? Like, for them, what are they really buying when they say, okay, you know what, I want to commit to work with you?
Might be time.
Time.
In their life.
Yeah, time in their life, right? Anything else? They're buying hope. They're buying hope, and they're hoping that you are the person to give them that hope. So how do you convey hope to people? It's by actually connecting with them as a human being. So I actually learned this lesson from Dr. Sam, my wife. In the beginning, at the clinic that she was working at right after graduation, she had, basically the way the clinic was set up, you'd have a free 15-minute consult with a physician, and then that person would either sign up for an initial visit or they wouldn't. So we call the rate that somebody goes from an initial to a full, from a free 15 to an initial, that's there's a conversion rate. How many of those people that came for the 15 converted into full-time patients? And in the beginning, it was, you know, every other person or whatever the case may be. There's only so much you can do in 15 minutes if you think about it. Like, how much of their past can you really dive into in 15 minutes? But then, a couple months in, it just clicked for her. And she explained to me, yeah, now I've been converting 100%. 100%? How is that even possible? That's an incredible rate. And she said, instead of trying to convince them that I have the answers for them, just listen. Just listen to what's concerning them. Listen to what's bothering them. And then at the end, just talk about what you can do. That little bit of hope is all they need in most cases. They're buying hope, and they're buying the belief that you are the person to give them that hope. Now, can you give somebody hope if you are a brand new graduate, brand new doc? Can you? Every single one of you should be nodding your head. You can give people hope. And if you understand that, then your mind won't be locked up in this whole, I don't know enough, or I'm not sure I've seen this pathology before. All those things you can figure out. You have resources, you have other colleagues, you have mentors. That's what they're for. Everybody wants to help in that respect. So all you have to do is give them a little bit of hope.
I had a question, just kind of going back to the price setup. You know, there's
Yeah.
multiple options from membership to package-based, hourly to whatever it might be. I've seen docs who have all three of those or multiple types and people can choose. I've seen docs that only do one.
Right.
Have you seen any kind of pattern of, is it better to just focus on one payment structure or include multiple?
You can definitely get away with doing more than one. I wouldn't do 3 different kinds. I think that gets confusing. But I will say on the whole, it's very challenging to make a straight fee-for-service model work for you. And here's why. Let's say you're charging an appropriate amount, because that's one of the first problems, is that straight fee-for-service paired with not charging enough, big problems. Practice doesn't stay open very long, right? But put it this way. How many of you have paid to go get chiropractic adjustment or massage at some point? Okay. Now, how often have you gone for the second one? Or the third one? Now, you know that a single treatment is not necessarily going to help realign your back or permanently relieve the strain in your traps or whatever the case may be, right? You know that it's going to take multiple visits. But every time you want to go visit, you're thinking about your wallet. You have to make a purchase decision every single time. And that's where it gets challenging to do a straight fee for service, because that's the same thing.
Yeah.
So you might have given them this great treatment plan and asked them to follow up with you in a month or 2 months, whatever the case may be. But at that point, they have to decide, ooh, do I really want to pay that follow-up visit? What if he prescribes me another supplement and I got to pay for that too? It becomes a bit more challenging. What I found works better is, for the people that I've talked to, and for myself also, is either a membership model or package model. And with a membership model, there's 2 ways of doing membership models. One way that people commonly do membership models is like, okay, so for $120 a month, you can get, 1 visit plus 1 treatment, let's say like an acupuncture and something, like this bundle of things that you get for that $120, whether you use it or not, right? That model I'm not as much of a fan of, because if somebody's looking at their finances and they see, there's 120 going out every month, it's very easy to cancel that. Versus a Costco style model. When you go to Costco and you pay your Costco membership, they don't give you like a big bag of cashews. It doesn't come with anything. It comes with, presumably, lower prices and access, right? So if you have, let's say, a straight fee-for-service menu, that's really more for a comparison's sake. and then a membership that's, say, something low and manageable, $29 a month, right? And that membership gets you, let's say, 20% off of everything, including the initial visit package, including supplements. People love getting supplement discounts. That's a reason enough for a lot of them to keep their memberships, even if they're not seeing the doctor, is just to get a supplement discount. And the benefit of doing something like that is that you get predictable monthly recurring revenue, which helps keep your doors open, whether they use it or not. I mean, think about your gym membership. Are you getting full value out of your gym membership? Anyone?
No.
Absolutely not. Right? So obviously you hope that they come see you, but they are paying for that security of, okay, well, I'm committed to this, I will be seeing the doctor, and now every time I go see them, it's going to cost me as much. Plus I get discounts on the supplements, it's a good deal, I'm much happier to do that. So that's the membership side. The package side is, I think this works better if you're looking to see a higher volume of people, higher volume of patients. If you want to see a more smaller, you cap the number of people that are part of your program, kind of an exclusive concierge type model, then the package works really well, because kind of like we talked about with the initial visit and bundling, say, the labs and the follow-up and all that stuff into one price, you can bundle an entire year's worth of care or 6 months worth of care into one price. And that's the model that Dr. Sam uses, that's the model that I use, works really well. But it's a different type of patient that's gonna go for that. Now, I think in your case specifically, it would probably work really well if you're talking about infertility, because if they're gonna come in, let's say, even preconception, and say, and you're basically acting as their, their coach and their doctor throughout the whole process, then you can say, this is the price for right now through at whatever point you want to, hand off here to a pediatrician or that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Any other questions business-wise?
I have a second one. Sorry, I don't want to think of all the questions. Words are hard for me. Like, using the right words. And, we're in our marketing class right now, forming our niche statements, and I know what I want to communicate, but the words that I'm using are either not convincing, or maybe they're not the right words for my particular audience. There are books on marketing language or strategies or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. So one of the people that I have learned a ton from, one of my mentors in the business world, is her name is Shalene Johnson. She has a podcast and a course called Marketing Impact Academy that has been really transformational for me. So I would recommend checking out some of her stuff. But also, really a lot of it boils down to just talking to your audience and understanding here's a question you can ask them. What are you typing into the search box in Google? If you want to understand the language that they're using, what are you searching? What are you searching on YouTube? And that will give you an understanding of what words you want to use. So actually at the beginning, I was talking more about, on my side, helping ambitious individuals and self-criticism, and then I realized that after talking to them, that what were they talking about was that negative voice in their head. So then I said, okay, I should kind of talk about, use that language as well, or imposter syndrome, or some of the other language that I wasn't using, but that's how they relate to it. So you want to still use the language that they are using, and one way is that methodology. There's a lot of ways though, but I'm glad you're thinking about it now, rather than when you're a baby doc and money's on the line, and rent and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
What was the name of that lady?
Shalene Johnson. Chane Johnson. All right. I also wanted to talk about, in addition to business tips and advice there, but also the personal things. Some of you are closer to graduating than others. The closer you are to graduating, the So likely it's taken its toll on you a little bit. How many of you are tired? Tired. Yeah. I get it. I actually didn't know how fatigued I was until like after boards and everything, and actually even up until, so I graduated in June of 17. Fast forward 2 years from then, because we got married in 18 and after the wedding, and so 2 years after that, I had really just not stopped even to check in with myself and take care of myself. And I started getting to the point that I couldn't even make it to 2 o'clock without being functionally useless, work-wise or anything else. And if there's one thing that if I could go back and redo, it would be, once I graduated, if I had just gone and checked on my cortisol levels and hormone levels and all that stuff, and just gotten some hydrotherapy regularly in the beginning, just to restore the adrenals and that sort of thing. It's the things that you talk to your patients about, but as doctors, we make the worst patients. And I can't tell you how important that is, because you have committed so much of yourself to getting to where you are and getting to where you will be. And for you to be the best for your patients, you have to be the best for yourself. So that's the one thing I beg of you, even as ultra type A personalities as we might be, it's important to do that. And also, I would also say the other important thing is just being comfortable with the idea of investing in yourself. Because even though we've spent a lot of money and a lot of loans to go to medical school, learning never ends. Because at the end of this, you're not going to know everything there is to know in medicine. Maybe you feel like you should or that sort of thing, but it's not realistic. You're always going to continue to learn. So just be open for the opportunities, both medical education-wise, in terms of continuing education organizations that you want to be a part of, but also business education-wise. You get some business training in school, but when you are out there and you're actually doing it yourself and recognizing what's working for you and not working for you, and getting mentorship and understanding, okay, if I wanted to start a YouTube channel, how do I do it? A lot of people think, okay, this is a great idea because I search for things on YouTube and people come up, and if I could come up in those search results, I mean, that could change everything for me. And, so they produce these really dense, high quality, content-wise videos, and they get 4 views on it, and it dies in the YouTube universe. There's ways to do it, and you have to actually invest in the knowledge to be able to do things the right way so that you can save time. So yes, even though, again, you would have spent a lot going through here, don't be afraid to spend a little bit more on the things that will help you save time and money and get to where you want further, faster. Does that make sense? So that's something that I had done with several online courses, actually, between a YouTube expert, actually Shalene's course, and a couple others that have gone a long, long way and helped me shave months and maybe years off of how long it would take me to grow an influence online. And that's just online. Obviously, if there's somebody that has a step-by-step for how to open your own practice and that sort of thing, don't be afraid to invest in that sort of thing as well. Just make sure you have good referrals and recommendations from people you trust and that sort of thing. But also, don't be afraid to invest in your personal development, because the mindsets that you take forward with you are going to make the biggest difference. If you've got a poverty mindset, or if you've got that competition mindset that your colleagues are competitors, it's not always going to serve you. So can I tell you a quick story? I have 2 classmates who are friends. I will call them Lucy and Ethel. They were very good friends in school. And I'd say probably a year after graduation, they're both in private practice. One has her own practice, the other one is working at another clinic. And they're both of the type that they embrace social media and marketing and that sort of thing, and they're willing to, again, invest in themselves. And they both inadvertently invested in the same Instagram training course, whatever. And Ethel goes to Lucy and says, yeah, so we're both naturopathic doctors, we're both in Scottsdale. Do you think maybe it's not a good idea that both of us are part of this Instagram program together doing kind of the same thing? Like, we kind of do the same thing, and if we're gonna market it the same way, that's probably not a good idea, right? And I was here first. They didn't talk to each other for like 6 months after that. It actually ended up being an issue, and it was just like, really? Is that, you both are focused on very different things. Don't be like that, okay? Like, if you have a colleague that is doing something similar to you, figure out how you can both grow, because there are plenty of people that you can serve out there. There's no lack of people at all, in whatever capacity that might be. That might be just regular doctor-patient relationship, it could be online courses, it could be speaking engagements, it could be anything. But again, just going back to collaborate, don't compete. But really the last part, how many of you are struggling to believe in yourself? Yeah, that's the hard one. What are you afraid of?
Failure.
Failure? What does failure look like?
Not successful.
Okay, what does not successful look like?
Pretty much just doing all this and then like not getting anything out of it. Not having a practice, not having patients.
All right, going and finding work some other way, kind of thing. Yeah, legitimate risk that we take. We're not entering this established field where everything is laid out for us. And actually, one of the biggest challenges coming out of school is that everything is laid out for us in school, right? You go to class, you get a syllabus, you do the assignments, you study, you take the tests, go to the next class, you go through the whole curriculum, you take boards at the end, you're licensed. Now what? Maybe you have a residency that, staved off all the decision-making for a year or two, and then you're still having to build everything up from the beginning. So, yeah, it's a risk that we have taken because we believe in what we can do, right? And the only failure that we're going to have is if we cease to believe that the gifts that we have as naturopathic doctors are useless to the outside world. If you believe that what you have can serve somebody and change their life, you will find a way to make it happen. And that route will not look like anybody else's route. Your path is going to look different than your path, is going to look different than all of our paths. But we can start to look at what elements work for one another and which things resonate with us, and see how we can support each other to step outside of our comfort zone and serve people in a way that we find fulfillment and pays the bills, pays the loans. What other things are you afraid of?
My goal is to just work like a day a week and then stay on the kids. So I'll provide that for them. But
Right.
I don't bring in that.
Right. So you want to work, wait, she wants to work.
She wants to work 1 day a week
Got it.
at hospital.
Got it. Yeah, that's possible. It's very possible. What's your fear around that?
I think it's just, it's a vision she has, and I want to make, her dreams come true, in a real sense.
Yeah.
And not put more burden on her than it needs to be. I just want her to have the freedom to do whatever she wants. If she wants to work 5 nights a week or 1 or whatever, not at all, doesn't matter. Just so she has that flexibility.
Right. Right. What else are you afraid of? There's no right answers